Hello and welcome back to the Premier League preview, week number 6, and we are kicking off with the 12:30 kickoff. It is Manchester United at home to Leicester, and a very, very important game for both teams. Obviously, Man United ended a slide of losses. They were on 3 losses. They could not afford to go to 4 losses on the bounce. It's just unheard of under Mourinho for any team of his, I think, to go 4 losses on the bounce. It didn't happen. They got a 3-1 victory against Northampton, and they need to carry that wave of little bit of positivity that they've got and get that ground absolutely buzzing. If they get their fans behind the team, they'll be able to do great things, I imagine. They also need to sort out who is starting and who is playing where, because that's how you'll solve the problem of Pogba. That's literally the only way that they'll solve it, is who's going to partner him, or will they put him in a midfield 3? I hear people are crying out for him to be put in a midfield 3, and it just hasn't happened yet. It needs to happen. That's how you'll get the best out of him. Or put someone like Michael Carrick with him, who will be able to control the game a little bit better and give him a bit more freedom in that midfield. Leicester coming off a 4-2 loss to Chelsea. Very, very harsh loss, but it was a deserved loss. If you are 2-0 up, it has been the same for West Ham and Stoke in the last couple of games, I should say. If you are leading, or you leave that much opportunity for your opponent to come in and smash 4 goals unanswered, you don't deserve to win that game, and they've gone out at that point. But that could be better for them to focus on the Premier League, because they are adjusting to life in the Champions League as well. They won 3-0 against Club Brugge, as you can see on the screen there, and they then came back into the Premier League, won 3-0 against Burnley. They need to keep that Premier League form going if they want to get anywhere near the top 4 or even the top 6 this year. How do I see this game going down? I think it's going to be really, really tight. I've got to be honest with you. But I think the positivity I think Leicester have got the better set-out team than Manchester United so far. And I've been predicting Man United wins for weeks. So it's not like I'm being like a biased Liverpool supporter by predicting a loss for United. I think it's going to be a close-run game. And I think that Leicester are going to nick it 2-1. It could... No, it won't. It will be 2-1 to Leicester. I'm not going to go back on what I've said there. I think that Leicester are just going to have a bit too much for that defence. The defence seems a little bit unsettled. I think they'll be able to get through that midfield if it plays anything like they played against Watford. I think this could be a very good game for Leicester, and I think it's going to be 2-1. Coming up next, we've got Bournemouth coming up against Everton. Now, look at that form from Everton before the cup loss. Look at that form. That is ridiculous. Five games they've won in their last 6. They lost 1. Bournemouth, on the other hand, have won 2, they've drawn 1 and lost 3. Now, I can't say they haven't faced good opposition. They've faced, I can actually. Preston, they should have beaten them. They really should have beaten them. Crystal Palace getting a draw there, not too bad. Beating West Brom's a very good result as well. Man City are the team to beat right now. There's no shame in losing. Maybe 4-0's a bit too much, but what is too much? What is too much? And then losing to West Ham very, very early on in the season as well, when West Ham haven't gone on their slide yet. Everton, smashing it. They are smashing it in the Premier League. There's no doubt. Look at those victories as well. You got 2-1 against West Brom, pretty decent against West Brom. 4-0 against Yeovil, 1-0 against Stoke, 1-0 against Stoke, 3-0 against Sunderland, and a 3-1 against Middlesbrough in the Premier League. Yes, they lost 2-0 against Norwich. They're not going to do it in the Cup. Obviously, they're out of it. Everton have got the quality all over the pitch to be able to deal with a game like this. They've obviously got the up-front talent, the likes of Lukaku, everybody like that, Dale Deulofeu. Then you've got Barkley in midfield, Gareth Barry as well, doing very well. Defence is doing pretty well as well. They've got, and Stecklenburg in goal is doing really well as well. You can't really complain if you're an Everton fan right now. They've had the best start they've had since, I think, the 70s or something like that. I think they're going to be too much for Bournemouth. I think Everton are going to come out of this one. I think Everton are going to win it 3-1. I think Bournemouth will be able to get a goal, but I think it's going to be a pretty dominant performance by Everton. 3-1. Coming up next after that, we've got Middlesbrough versus Tottenham. And Tottenham, obviously, I think the only loss they've had in the last 6 games, well, yeah, it's right there on the screen, is against Monaco in the Champions League. But after that, they've come back and they've beaten Sunderland and then Gillingham in the Cup with a much changed team as well. Obviously, they're missing Harry Kane at the moment, and I think that could be quite telling. I think Janssen could be a very good player to go up top and try and take it on his own. I think Son as well is doing very well, and most of the Tottenham team are doing pretty well, as you know, at the moment anyway. Middlesbrough, on the other hand, don't have the very best form coming into this one. They've got goal scorers. They've got the likes of Negredo and Stuani. It's the rest of the team pitching in and doing their jobs as well and making sure that they feed those strikers. I'm not sure that this is going to be the game to do it. You look at that defensive line and the goalkeeping situation as well with Tottenham. They're very solid. They're going to be able to deal with it, I think. And I think that Tottenham are going to come away with a comfortable 2-0 victory. Coming up next, we've got Swansea versus Man City. And this is Man City's game. They're going to win 4-0. I'm sorry, I don't need to do that much analysis for this one. Look at those results for Man City. Look at the results for Swansea. 4-0 for Man City. Sorry, Swansea. This isn't going to be the way to go, I'm afraid. It's just not going to happen. I know they got a pretty good result. Well, not a pretty good result. They lost. They had a close result in 2-1 against Swansea, but I think the Premier League's going to be a different animal, and I think that Man City are going to smash it again, 4-0. Coming up next, we've got Sunderland versus Crystal Palace, and what a game this is going to be. This is going to be excitement. I couldn't keep a straight face. All right, so Sunderland got through in the cup, and they really needed that. Obviously, knocking out QPR. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, going out to Southampton, and that's no shame. Southampton are a very good team, but I think Crystal Palace should have put up a bit more of a fight, if I'm honest with you. Crystal Palace have the better form coming into this game in the Premier League, smashing Stoke 4-1. Obviously, Sunderland losing 1-0 to Tottenham, which is no bad thing either. It was only a 1-0. It could have been way more. Crystal Palace are going to have too much quality. I think Christian Benteke playing up front and doing pretty well, and obviously Zaha coming in and doing well as the rest of the team that they've got. You know, they're pretty solid at the back when they want to be. They're pretty good going forward. I think that Crystal Palace are going to have too much quality for this Sunderland team. Sunderland are going to have to pull something out the bag that's ridiculous to come, like, maybe not ridiculous, but they're going to have to come out and do something astonishing to make me predict anything otherwise. It's going to be a 2-1 victory for Crystal Palace. Coming up next, we've got Stoke versus West Brom. Right, I'm trying not to be a dick about it, but Stoke, I just don't understand. Apart from the 4-0 victory against Stevenage, I don't understand what's going on. They had a solid transfer window. They had a very solid transfer window. Got some impressive people in. Bruno Martins Indy. Got Boney in as well. Along with the people that they've already got. The likes of Bojan, Shaqiri and all that lot. I just don't understand what's going on with Stoke right now. Built on one of the most solid defences in years. And maybe this is what it is that they have now, like the Roberto Martinez effect at Everton, they've gone away from that sort of training in defence that they don't do like they did under Pulis years ago and stuff like that. That they've gone so far away from it and they focus on attacking that the defence doesn't seem to know what to do anymore. Coming up against West Brom, who've just smashed West Ham 4-2, sorry. I got to go with West Brom. I think Rondon's going to have a field day with that defence, exactly like he did against West Ham. And I think this could be another 4-1. I'm going to go for it. It's going to be a 4-1 victory for West Brom. And Stoke are in trouble. And coming up next is probably the big one of the weekend. It's Arsenal versus Chelsea. Arsenal have been on some pretty good form. They were getting slated to fuck after they played us at the opening day of the weekend, getting beat 4-3 in what ended up being a much closer game than it should have been. And they've picked up some pretty good results. They're getting the goals. They're looking a bit more solid at the back. They've got not a lot to complain about. Same could be said for Chelsea. Apart from the loss to us, we took away Chelsea's unbeaten streak. But they come back in the cup. They come back. They show their resilience. They show fight and determination in the cup game against Leicester. They come out 4-2 victors in that game. Obviously, they were playing the better opposition as well, and they've had a fair few better tests, like in Liverpool, Swansea, and Leicester, than perhaps Arsenal have had in Hull and Nottingham Forest and stuff like that. But I think this is going to be either a tight game or it's going to be a mauling one way or the other. Now, John Terry being injured is a big one for me, but then you've got to look at the fight that that Chelsea put up against Leicester. as well. It's very, very difficult to call. I'm going to go out on a limb here, though, and I am going to turn around and say, I think that Arsenal are going to come out, and I think it's going to be a 3-2 victory. I think it's going to be close as fuck. I really do. I think it's going to be the closest game of the weekend, in my opinion. But I think Arsenal are just going to get it, and I think it's going to be a 3-2 victory for Arsenal. Coming up next, I think this is Sunday's game. We've got West Ham versus Southampton. West Ham are probably... When you've conceded 11 goals in your last 3 Premier League games, things aren't looking very good for you. Especially coming up against Southampton, who've got good goal scorers in Shane Long and Charlie Austin. Charlie Austin especially. Always been a fan of Charlie Austin. He just seems to pop up. He's that number 9 type player who just comes up and he scores goals. You put him on the pitch as a sub or as a starting player and he scores goals. West Ham are struggling in that department. They are struggling with their forwards. Antonio is basically bailing them out the shit most games. And Dimitri Payet as well, obviously getting that 96th minute free kick against Accrington in the Cup. Look, I've got to be honest with you. West Ham have got maybe just a little bit, a smidgen, bit better form than Stoke. And that isn't saying a lot. Southampton, for me, are going to come out of this very, very easily, I think. They're going to come out. I think there's going to be a 2-0 victory to Southampton. And West Ham are going to be in the shit. And the final game of the Premier League weekend, technically not the weekend, Monday Night Football, Burnley versus Watford. And Watford are going to be absolutely flying high on the confidence that they've just got from smashing West Ham 4-2 and then beating Man United 3-1 in what was a very, very good performance by Watford. Burnley, on the other hand, apart from the win against us, they have not done very well. It's a bit of a turn of fortunes. Obviously, the 2-0 they had against us, that Burnley were going to kick on and do very well. They've also got the controversial decision. It's not really controversial at all. He sent controversial tweets out. Andre Gray is now suspended for the next 4 games. That's his own fault. You've got to know the day and age. Now, these tweets go back to 2012. You are intelligent enough to know not to send things out like that. Don't be a dick, especially when you could be in the spotlight in the next couple of years. It's how it works. You've got to be clever. You've got to have your mind switched on at all times. It's just how it is. And coming out and turning around and saying, I was a different person back then. What? So what changed apart from your wage packet goes up and you become in the public eye a lot more? That's pretty much probably all that changed, let's be honest. But anyway, Burnley are going to be without Andre Gray, which is even worse. Because they weren't scoring goals. Friggin' hell, hang on, I'm just looking. In the last 6 games, they've only scored 3 goals. 2 against us, well done, and 1 against Hull in which they drew. Since then, they haven't scored any goals. So that's going to suck even more because they weren't scoring goals in the first place. And unless they're going to magic up another goal scorer like a Danny Ings that they had a couple of years ago, they're fucked. There's no other way about it. Watford are going to come out of this one. Watford are going to win 3-1. That's it. It's going to be another 3-1 victory for Watford. Maybe even 3... Fuck it. No, it's going to be a 3-0 victory for Watford. And Burnley are in trouble. Very, very, very big trouble. And that is it for the Premier League preview. The Liverpool preview will be in the description below if you'd like to check that one out. I did a separate video to that one, as I always aim to do. I don't think I've failed on that one just as of yet, but I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you like the predictions and stuff like that, the different formats and different websites I keep using. And I hope that you're enjoying it. If you like the video, please drop a like on it. Leave some comments below. What do you think is going to happen this weekend? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? And who's going to be Player of the Week? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like the video, subscribe if you're new around here, and I will catch you later. Thank you very much for watching.